Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Jake from TodaysiPhone.com, and here are this week's biggest stories. Okay, now the first thing I want to talk about today is a rumor going around the web that claims that when the next iPhone comes out, it will not be sporting the Apple traditional 30-pin dock connector, but instead it'll have something called a micro dock. Now, as far as upgrades or changes in a device go, this isn't the biggest one out there, but it is pretty significant, first of all, because there's just always been a 30-pin dock connector. All the iPods, all the iPads, all the iPhones, that's just the standard that Apple goes with, and I say standard loosely because no other company uses that. But, that's Apple. But anyway, so if Apple were to change from the 30-pin dock connector to a smaller micro dock, not only would it mean that your phone does not have a giant rectangular hole at the bottom that gets lint and dirt and stuff in it, but if they did shrink that down like they've shrunk basically everything else inside the iOS devices, it's just one more way to get the overall footprint of the iPhone or whatever smaller. Or it could just mean more room for something like a bigger screen. So, of course, this is just a rumor at this point, and the next gen iPhone is pretty far off, but it's still something to keep in mind. Okay, and really quick, we move on to an awesome jailbreak basic tip posted by Tyler this week. And this super simple tweak basically allows you to change the carrier name at the top left-hand corner of your iPhone to whatever you want. I used to have mine as my name, Jake. Tyler chose a emoticon pile of poop to symbolize AT&T. Fitting, I guess. You can basically do anything you want. It's built right into SB settings, an application that most jailbreak users already have. So if you don't know how to do this, definitely check it out. And if you're on the fence about jailbreaking, these are the kind of things that I like the best, so this might just sway you, so definitely hit that up, link in the description down below. And we move on. Okay, let's talk about Facebook. At a shareholders meeting recently, Tim Cook was talking about the social network, and he basically said that, Facebook is a friend, and we know that a ton of our users are on Facebook constantly. And then he sort of talked about Twitter and how Twitter integration has been great for both Apple and Twitter. And it's been leading a lot of people to believe that possibly Facebook integration is coming in the next iteration of iOS, and that would be super awesome. A lot of people were definitely disappointed when it was announced that Twitter was integrated into iOS 5 and Facebook wasn't. With the Facebook application constantly being one of the most downloaded applications on the App Store, it seems like a no-brainer to integrate the social network into iOS. But I think it was more of a, business negotiation thing that didn't really work out. So hopefully Tim Cook's candid comments mean that they have worked out their differences and we will see Facebook integration eventually. Okay, next, let's talk a little bit about Microsoft Office for the iPad. Now, there have been a lot of back and forth reports about this application for the past week or so. Basically, the Daily posted an article with some supposed leaked pictures of a Microsoft Office application running on an iPad, got everybody excited, and this story looked pretty legit. Until Microsoft released a couple statements saying that, we respect the Daily and all, that's nice of them, but this story is false, we do not have this in the works, blah, 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 and now, then there were stories released that saying that Microsoft's denial doesn't mean that the application doesn't exist, and that the Daily has more information that they're going to post at a later date, and it's all very confusing and quite a strange situation. As far as Microsoft Office for iPad goes, I'd say if Microsoft was planning to do this, there'd definitely be a market for it. We've seen with Apple's Pages and Numbers and Keynote that there is a market for these content creation applications on the iPad, and it doesn't really make sense for Microsoft to stay away from this. They've made other applications for iOS before, so it's not like, that's taboo. So in my opinion, I think it would be a great idea to have Microsoft Office on the iPad. Both for Apple and for Microsoft and for the users. Okay, and let's end on everybody's favorite subject, the iPad 3. MIC Gadget has gotten their hands on the leaked backplate for the next-gen iPad, and they did a bunch of comparisons between that piece of hardware and the counterpart on the iPad 2, and they are basically very, very similar. The only real differences I can see is that the iPad 3 is slightly thicker, which we already knew, and there's a different camera hole, similar to that on the iPhone 4S, which we also already knew, but that doesn't make the pictures any less fun to look at, and hopefully we will be able to see a finished product and not just pieces of the iPad 3 as soon as possible. Latest reports put it somewhere at the end of February, early March, so fingers crossed. Okay, well that's all the big news for this week, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching. Before I go and leave you the question of the day, oh my god, I haven't taken a breath in a really long time, and your question of the day is, if you had to pick one social network other than Twitter to be integrated into iOS, what would it be? You know, you got Facebook, Foursquare, LinkedIn, you know, all the big social networks. Which one would you find most beneficial, and which one do you think would most, you know, meld, is that the right word? Yeah, meld with iOS. You can let me know in the comment section down below, or hit me up on Twitter at TIP_Jake. I try to respond to everybody that tweets me, so if you have something to say, the best place to do it is there. Please don't forget that the links to all of these stories I talked about in this video are in the description down below. And as always, for more news, views, and reviews, please check out todaysiphone.com, and I will see you next week.